Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm Jordan from iBeacon Trends and Notikins. Really excited to talk to you guys today about beacons for industry. I wanted to show you guys a little bit about the hardware and dig into some case studies about how industrial companies can and are using beacons. But yeah, really exciting technology, and it's a sector that I think is overlooked when thinking about using these Bluetooth beacons. There is a little chat on the side. I see some people have already messaged. You can easily message me here, and I will get the questions. If we don't have time during the presentation, there will be some time afterwards for just a little question and answer. Yeah, there is a lot of information, a lot of really cool ways to use beacons, especially in industry. So this webinar is kind of more to give a view of the vast array of options than to really go in depth about how to use beacons in all these different particular ways. But we might have some follow-up webinars focused on different areas if that's of interest to people. Plus, we might also have, if you'd like, we can have free consultations, we can do demos, and we can show you one-on-one. Yeah, so I think that's about it for an introduction. Let's dive into it. And just so you guys, just wanted to give you guys an overview of beacons first. Let me get the presentation back up. So yeah, as I was saying, it's really overlooked, and beacons for industry, it may not generate as many leads. I'm sure most of you know beacons more for the retail potential, sending out advertising messages, than for being used in factories. But yeah, really large indoor spaces with a lot of different things going on are just phenomenal places for beacons. We generally recommend using geofencing for outdoors, which uses GPS to interact with mobile phones or mobile devices. But indoors, they don't work. So beacons are really great technology and really flexible too. I mean, you can use RFID, but they just don't have these RFID tags don't have the same level of flexibility. There's Wi-Fi using lights to interact with devices, but everything has to be within a view of a light. With this, all you need to do is have Bluetooth turned on with a phone or with a device. You can place the beacons pretty much anywhere, even in very hot or cold environments, and they'll work for you, some of them for years. So yeah, industrial companies and buildings really fit the description perfectly. And again, they are very flexible, and beacons can be used for multiple purposes. So as I said today, I wanted to go over what beacons are, just kind of show you what they are. Some of you may already know this, but there's some cool new potential use cases with the newer beacons that I wanted to dig into, in particular this webinar. And then talk about four main areas: managing equipment, managing employees, and wayfinding, and then optimizing your processes once you've got that down pat. And as far as beacons themselves, let me pull up the video again. You guys can see me for a second here. Yeah, so beacons, as I'm sure many of you already know, but just so we're on the same page, they're generally very tiny devices. I've got a bunch from a few different manufacturers here. Treasure trove. We have like a treasure trove here at the office. Small devices, like I said, you can place them pretty much anywhere. You can just stick them to the wall. You can just place them down. Some of them have batteries that last a very long time. And the idea behind them is that you can stick them anywhere. They don't have to be connected, although they can. You can get them for USB. You can get them to plug directly into an outlet, so they don't need batteries. But the idea is they can just kind of stand alone. You put them there, they're good to go for years. Some of the smaller ones, the batteries maybe will last a year or so, but the bigger ones, yeah, they can last a long time. And what they do is they emit a Bluetooth signal, a signal that does not take, it's called Bluetooth low energy, so it doesn't take much energy to emit it. It doesn't take much energy to pick it up. So both for the end user, the mobile device in most cases, doesn't take much energy, and yeah, these things, the small, like a couple batteries can last, you know, a very long time, and they can just continuously emit. So they emit this signal, and then something has to have the intelligence to know what to do with the signal. So there's a couple different beacon protocols, but just for example, Apple's iBeacon protocol, the one that started this whole industry basically, that sends out a UUID, a major and a minor. It's like a 36 numbers, and then like up to 10,000 for two other smaller numbers. Yeah, it's a signal, and it's like kind of, I don't know, a barcode might be a good way to look at it. But whatever you do, like the app or your phone or your device, will see that signal, and then you need to give it the intelligence to do something else. So in retail, for example, you have someone walking into your store, and a beacon's nearby. The phone picks up the signal, and your shopping app has an offer already configured, and it'll send out this deal to the user in your store. Hopefully that's pretty clear. We do again offer one-on-one tutorials and free consultations, and we can go a lot more in depth. But hopefully we're more or less on the same page about beacons in general. And again, there's some questions and answer time at the end as well. And I did want to also mention, I mean, there's a couple other beacon manufacturers we work with, but if you're experimenting, I really do like Estimote for a couple reasons. They have these, especially in industry, they have this GPIO, general purpose input output. This is Estimote. This is one of their beacons taken apart. But you can plug in like a Raspberry Pi, a light, or yeah, there's a lot of different things you can plug into this, and the beacon can interact with it. You can see it on the beacon itself. It's right here. So like if you walk into a room, you can turn on all of the machines as soon as you walk in, or turn on heating or something like that. So that GPIO is really cool. They also, which a lot of other companies have like temperature sensors, which is great, and I'll get into some use cases with those. Motion sensors, which is also awesome, and ambient light sensors too. So really cool that the packets that they can send out. So they don't just send a signal, but they can send other information as well. And plus they have these smaller beacons that you can stick on. These aren't really great for retail cases, but I think they're fantastic for industry. Usually, I don't know if this guy, it's kind of bed on here. I'm not sure why. This one has a car, but a lot of them have like here's a fridge. So like with this for example, or with any of these, just has a fridge on it to show you what you can do. You can maybe put it on your fridge, and it could tell the fridge when to turn on and when to turn off. So it's more for, these are more for device management. Like I said earlier, they don't have as long of a battery life, but yeah, if you're testing something out, these are a lot cheaper and smaller, easier to kind of move around, I guess. You can just put it on a device and manage the device with the beacon. Yeah, so yeah, I'm kind of more for asset tracking. But anyway, Estimote's a good website to check out. There's a lot of other great manufacturers out there around the world. But like I said, if you're kind of in the experimental stage and cost is not as big of a factor, yeah, check out their website. And yeah, you can play around with the different functionalities. So that's beacons. And now let's dive into industry, how to apply them to industry. So yeah, let me pull up the slide also. And I did put in the slide share, so you should be able to follow on as well in the chat box. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was actually the monitoring and managing the state of equipment and rooms. So some beacons, like Estimotes, have temperature sensors and light sensors built in. So you can actually monitor the state of the equipment, because it's included in the packet. So you can have a machine, however often you want the beacon to emit, like maybe once every second, I don't know. But you can have it be emitting the temperature almost at all times. And if it gets too hot or gets too cold, like this was used, I don't think it was Estimotes beacons, but there's a case study with escalators. And if the escalator overheated, that meant that something broke. When it overheated, it sent a signal that it was getting too hot, and it alerted maintenance. So that's a really cool use case. Like if you know that a machine should be at a certain temperature, or a room should be at a certain temperature, they're just a great way to send out automated alerts. You do have to set up larger beacons, or kind of like a content management system, because the signal for especially these smaller beacons isn't nearly as far. So you kind of have to set up a system to capture that information. Or you can just set it up so that when someone's walking by, it'll let them know. So like if you've got someone like a quality manager walking through an equipment room, as they walk through, they can be updated for the temperature. You can also, like I said, track motion. So I think you can even, we haven't tested this, but I think you can even, like if you have forklifts that should be that are automated and are going through a room, and are outside of the zone that they should be in, you can be notified by that too. So you can go and check on that. And beyond just monitoring and kind of informing staff if something's wrong, or just kind of tracking things at all times, they can be used to manage places and devices too. Like I said, when you walk into a room, you can turn the heating on, you can turn the equipment on, you can shut it off when there's no employees. So yeah, you can hook it up directly with GPIO, or you can hook it up with like just Bluetooth devices. They don't have to be plugged in. You can, if your equipment is already Bluetooth enabled, you don't need to change anything. You don't need to use the GPIO. So yeah, you can set some automations in place, like kind of if this, then that. If it gets too hot, do this, or turn on the air conditioner. If all the employees are gone, shut off the lights. Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do. So based on the current states of the machine, and just kind of have it automated, or by who's in the area. So that's really cool to think about. A lot of possibilities there. All right, next up, asset tracking and inventory management. Yeah, this is related. Yeah, what I was saying earlier about the forklift. You can know if it moves in a certain range. If you're worried about goods being lost or stolen, we also have some delivery software for trucks, and we do sell not really Bluetooth beacons, but we manufacture some beacons for kind of asset tracking. And you can set up the beacons. There's actually a good case study. I have it listed here. Farmers using beacons in Moldorf, Germany. They have beacons on their trucks that are also linked to a weighing system. I think they were having problems with people stealing some of their goods. And they had beacon checkpoints along the road. So every time a truck would pass, the truck would emit the weight via beacon to the checkpoint. And these checkpoints, I think, were linked using Wi-Fi to like a database, and they would let people know, like the controllers know what the weight was, and if something was off. Or you can just have that information stored there and go and collect the information you know, when you go by. So yeah, I think with if you have a lot of moving goods, you're moving equipment around, beacons are great to keep track of them. And you can, you know, the temperature sensor works too for asset tracking and inventory management as well. So if you have valuable goods, the beacons generally don't cost that much, and they're a really great protection mechanism to make sure that everything is all set. We've had some requests recently to, you know, make sure like milk goods or like perishable goods stay at the right temperature too. So yeah, something to keep in mind. And beyond goods, managing employees. So, you know, if you talk to your employees and get them to have an application with Bluetooth, and they turn on Bluetooth, you can know when they get in the office and when they get out without them having to do anything. It's just when they walk in the door or when they don't. Maybe a little too big brother for some companies. But, you know, it's really good information to see their general workflow. And you can also have a good idea of where employees are. You can see if there's kind of, you know, if you've got an assembly line, you can see maybe where there should be more employees or kind of which areas are underserved. So yeah, beyond just kind of knowing when employees are there, you can go a little more in depth and see kind of like internal map of where your employees are and how long they stay there during the day. So that's kind of more monitoring. And yeah, then you'll have to kind of take the managing into your own hands. But if there are rooms with, oops, I'm gonna switch the slides here. If there are rooms with sensitive information, you can also automatically turn off cameras, for example, with Bluetooth. You can link it up to different applications. So this might be really good if you have kind of very sensitive information. You can get everyone to have this app so that, you know, automatically, like it's an automatic reminder to shut off their cameras, and it actually will shut them off. Yeah, those are two good examples with employees. I'm sure you can think of other ones, but yeah, those are two good ones to start your thought processes, I think. And wayfinding, getting around large buildings can be pretty tricky. And this is something that beacons are very good at. They're used in a lot of places to help the visually impaired, because even outdoors, because they are more accurate than GPS. And they use actually in a lot of airports too. It's a really common place for them because it's very confusing and stressful to get around the airport. But if you've got a large factory that's kind of hard to get around, and especially for new employees, they can see themselves on a map and you can kind of guide them to different points. So it could be really good for orientation, or if you've got someone visiting, doing like quality checks, you can set up a route for them and just kind of use an application that's linked with beacons to help them navigate. And I think especially for emergency situations, we do a lot with security, particularly for governments, but we're starting to work with some private companies too. But if you're at a chemical plant or a nuclear plant, you need to be able to alert your employees if something's happened and how to get out if there's a fire. So I think in some cases, beacons or some type of alert technology are essential. And just to kind of give you one example there, there's I forget where, but there's a group of firefighters that all have beacons on them, and their captain, their fire chief, or their manager, whoever's on the ground with them, can see where they are in real time. And like if they're in a room that maybe they shouldn't be in, it can alert someone. Or if they're stuck in the same area for too long, it can alert someone. So maybe if it's a really dangerous job, maybe all of your employees should have a beacon. And if there is an emergency, then you can at all times know where they are. Something to keep in mind. And for maybe a lighter use case, there is the possibility of using beacons for tours. Beacons are used in a lot of museums. One example is the Porsche factory in Leipzig. You can be greeted with beacons, especially if you're kind of a high-tech company and it's important to have a good high-tech image. Beacons are a great cutting-edge technology that you can use to show off your building. And that's all for wayfinding. And then last but not least, improving efficiency of teams. So once you have the correct route set up for your teams, like security guards or janitorial services, you can use beacons to have like kind of automatic checkpoints. So when they're in an area, you know and they know that this area has been covered. So yeah, I think it's really important, especially for security teams, quality teams, to make sure they're covering everywhere. And beacons are a great automatic way to make sure that actually happens, because you know that they've been there. It's not just a check on a checklist. It's related to their actual physical location. And like I said before, you can see their workflow, and maybe you see like they're kind of doing zigzags or different things when they're checking things off, and maybe you want to improve their efficiency too. So that's all. I know that was a lot of information, a lot of different, really, hopefully exciting things to think about. Yeah, there's just so much you can do with beacons. And like I said earlier, you can do beacons, you can use beacons in many different ways. The same beacon can do a lot of different things. It can help the visually impaired navigate. It can be used for security alerts. It can be used to turn off and on lights, because it sends out the same signal. You just have to have something to interpret that signal. And yeah, I guess the best practice, I would say, is once you have the data about employees, inventory, and assets, really find good ways to visualize this to provide actionable insights. You don't just want data for the sake of data, but you want to be able to take action on it. So I would say one step, maybe not the first step, but once you decide that beacons are the right tool for you, for your company, think through how you will use the data collected. Because then you can place the beacons in the right place and use them for the right things. So yeah, it's important. It's something that we see clients or potential clients not do enough, is really strategize how to use the really powerful analytics that you can get from beacons. Yeah, the list for industry could go on and on. There's just so much in terms of possibilities, because there's so much happening in industrial buildings. I would also say it's best to pick one and do it well. Then with the beacons in place, you can set up more. Yeah, and if it's tough to choose just based on this limited information, what's best for your company or how to set something up, we do offer, here's the slide, demos and free consultations, so we're happy to talk to you. With no beacons, a lot of the things I mentioned are possible with callbacks, not all of them. So we can set you up with a free trial account, or we can just talk to you. We can do some consulting with you. The first session is free, and just kind of talk through your project, see what your needs are, and see what hardware and software is best for you. So that's all I have as far as the presentation. Now is a great time for questions, and I see that we do have a lot of comments here. My colleague Emilio, let me pull off the so you can see us now.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah, we're here so we can stay online for a couple more minutes, answer any questions that you have. Take a look at our very sunny balcony. You do want to come in for an office visit. But yeah, so we will stay on the line for a few more minutes and try to answer some questions in the comment section. Otherwise, thank you all so much for being here. Exciting technology. Yeah, and we love to get feedback. We'll probably do some other webinars. We're based in Barcelona, so probably do some webinars in Spanish, and in French. The company's everywhere is based in Paris. So you'll probably see some info from us about some French and Spanish webinars in the future. We think industry is the next big sector for beacons. And so we're doing all we can to dive into the space, and I'd love to dive into all. So yeah, we'll be in the comment section, and other than that, hasta luego.
Bye bye.